Hey there, I'm G, and welcome to the next level, and it's time for yet another tier list, everybody. So you're gonna notice that this tier list is gonna look a little bit different than the last Genesis mini tier list, because I actually am doing this on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/G to the next level, and I'm going to be placing it right here for YouTube. And today, we are actually gonna be doing a tier list on this guy. This is the Sega Astro City Mini. Now, if you haven't seen this before, it's a wonderful little arcade system. It's got 37 games that Sega has included from various parts of Sega history before. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to rank every single one of them games in a 5-tier list and then just kind of go from there. Oh yeah, and one other thing, this list is not going to include the Dottori-Kun, which is the PCB included game, the dot muncher kind of game that's included with the Astro City Mini. I figured it's not really fair to kind of judge it up against these other games because it's like, it's kind of a game, but not really a game. So I figured the only fair thing would just be to just leave it be. So that's why you're not going to see the Dottori-Kun on this list. So that being said, here we go. All right, so let's get started. The first game that we're going to talk about in the tier list is Alex Kidd The Lost Stars, or I guess I should say Alex Kidd with Stella The Lost Stars. So that's the actual full name of it. Now, I'm going to be just kind of real and honest with y'all. I mean, I respect Alex Kidd. I totally respect Alex Kidd. But some of his games, to me, are kind of hit or miss. Like, either fantastic, like Alex Kidd in Miracle World, or my personal favorite, Alex Kidd in Shinobi World, or, and then you get ones like Alex Kidd in High Tech World. I don't know what was up with that. And honestly, I wasn't a big fan of the Enchanted Castle either, the Mega Drive game, as you saw in my Sega Genesis mini tier list when I talked about it. So, but Alex Kidd The Lost Stars is a strange one because as it's more of a, I guess it's kind of a prelude to those early kind of pure run platformers, something that you didn't really see a whole lot in arcades when this game really came out. You know, at least at least ones that I didn't see. I didn't really see that. But this game, to me, it's a lot of fun. However, I played it mostly on the Master System before I actually played it in the arcade. I don't remember actually ever playing this game in the arcade with my dad. And the interesting thing about this game is just it's a lot of fun, and it can get really, really cheap. You could tell that Sega made this game to be a quarter muncher. So it's like, yeah, it can be kind of cheap, but the game is a lot of fun. It looks great. It plays great. Could really do without Alex Kidd's death scream. Could really do without that. Hey, at least it's not as bad as it is on the Master System. I will give it that. That is nightmare fuel hearing that over and over. So, where does Alex Kidd The Lost Stars rank when it comes to here? I would probably say Alex Kidd The Lost Stars, to me, I think it's pretty great. So I'm actually going to put it in pretty great tier. I think it's one of the most solid Alex Kidd games out there. I think it's right behind Alex Kidd Miracle World and Alex Kidd in Shinobi World, like in my personal rankings as far as like the Alex Kidd games go. And I really wonder exactly how the remake is going to come out. So let me know what y'all think about that remake. I haven't heard anything about it, but yeah, I mean, Alex Kidd The Lost Stars, it's really fun. It's actually a lot of fun, and I would love to play through it again, most definitely. All right, so next game is going to be Alien Storm. Now, I don't really have to say a whole lot about Alien Storm. When I got the Astro City Mini for the first time, I think that one of the games, aside from Golden Axe: The Revenge of Death Adder, of course, that one of the games that I was really looking forward to play the most is Alien Storm, because I had never played the arcade version of Alien Storm. I only played the Mega Drive version, and I know that there's one on the Master System too, but I had never actually played it anywhere else. So playing it in the arcade, and it's really quite amazing. And this is something you're going to hear from me a lot about the Astro City, probably in the companion video as well. That playing through these games on the Astro City Mini really makes me feel like Sega did such a really good job porting these games over to the Genesis and the Mega Drive. They really did. They did a fantastic job. And I mean, of course, they had to make cuts here and there. Alien Storm is not as long. They did make a few changes. But I will say, just the game is it's so out there and so imaginative. It's like, imagine a cross between Ghostbusters and Aliens, and you get it with a little bit of like Streets of Rage and Golden Axe. That's how you get Alien Storm, and it's so good. The graphics are amazing. The soundtrack is awesome. The game is just brimming with style and character in it, and it never feels cheap. It's a lot of fun, especially when the game decides to switch it up to like a side-scrolling shooter, or the first-person shooters where you basically destroy everything in sight to kill the aliens. The game's amazing, and in my opinion, Alien Storm, I'm not going to mince words, it's going straight into the awesome tier. This is really one of the best reasons to buy the Astro City Mini. It's awesome, and I really hope that Sega pays a lot more homage to it in its future. I was happy to see it on the Sega Genesis Classics collection. That was great. So I'm hoping that they'll actually pay a bit more love to it, because it deserves it. Okay, so next up is Alien Syndrome. Now, this is going to be a tough one to rank, because the arcade Alien Syndrome is a lot of fun. I actually love playing it. I think it's great, like, especially in two-player. I love how tense the game is and how you have to basically rescue all the hostages and then get to the exit. I love the creepy vibe. I like the music, the kind of the character sort of semi-cheapy art style to it. I actually really like all of that about Alien Syndrome, and I liked it a whole lot on the NES version. Like, the NES version of Alien Syndrome is fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. The Master System version, is okay. But yeah, this is one of those weird cases where Tengen actually did a better job on the NES version than Sega did themselves on the Master System. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I wonder. So I know Sunsoft made some of Sega's games for the Famicom, and they never came to the US. I can't remember if they did Alien Storm or Alien Syndrome or not. I can't remember. I'll have to look that up. But anyway, part of me really wants to put. So I love playing this game. Part of me really wants to put Alien Syndrome in the awesome tier, but I can't. I'm only going to put it in okay, and I'll tell you why. Because there's one crucial flaw in this game that makes me want to knock it down 2 tiers because of one simple flaw. No continues. That's what gets me. Having no continues, having to go through, I think, 8 stages? 8 stages in one go with 3 lives. I can't even remember if you can gain extra lives or not, probably through points. But yeah, it's like no continues. You have to get through the whole game that way. To me, that's lame. It basically ruins the game. But, well, it doesn't ruin it because it's still a lot of fun. If it ruined it, it would have gone in the Dookie tier. But just because of that one flaw, it reminds me of Double Dragon 3 on the NES. It's that one flaw, only giving you 1 life, ruined the entire game. So that's basically what happened to Alien Syndrome. I still say it's a fun game, but in my opinion, just play the NES version or play the PS2 remake that came out for the Sega Ages. That's a great remake. So definitely play that. Man, I want to play more of those Sega Ages games sometime. I really do. But yeah, I think I'm comfortable putting it in the okay tier because of that. Sega, that was a dirty move. That was a real dirty move. All right, next up is the Icon, Altered Beast. I mean, so Altered Beast is always a tough one to talk about because it's one of those games that's like it's so integral to Sega's history. It's so integral to the Genesis's history. It's so integral to a lot of things. It has such a heavy portion in pop culture today. I mean, just take a look at Matthew Sweet. I mean, need I say more? It's like it's one of those things that, but it's also kind of interesting how for a franchise that's so important to Sega, it really got kind of put on the back burner over the years, didn't it? But I don't want to go into a tangent about that. I'll save that for another time. But as far as the Altered Beast goes, I mean, to me, the arcade version of Altered Beast, it really is the penultimate way to play Altered Beast. I mean, aside from maybe the surprisingly great Famicom version, which I'm still dying to get a copy of. But Altered Beast is Altered Beast. That being said, if you need a poster child for games that have the stigma of not aging well, Altered Beast is one of the best for that. I mean, it can be very cheap at times. It's cumbersome. It's clunky. The collision detection and the hit detection are off, but the game makes up for it so much in style that it's hard. It's so hard not to hate Altered Beast. It really is. It's so hard not to hate on it because there's so much style and so much character in it that it makes up for its shortcomings. And that's why I'm going to put it in the okay tier. I can't put it anything higher or anything lower because it's still a fine game, but beyond its place in history, as far as just on the pure gameplay, which is what I rank these tier lists about, is just on the pure gameplay, it falls right smack dab in the middle for me. And that's about it. I mean, Altered Beast is Altered Beast. That's all I gotta say. All right, so next game. Whew. Next game we're gonna talk about is Arabian Fight. Now, Arabian Fight is one that this was basically kind of a mythical game for me. And I remember reading about it in magazines. I remember seeing the details like a diehard game fan and whatnot about Left Aside, Left Ashore, like the games that never really reached the United States, even though Arabian Fight kind of did. As I was, talked about in my Twitch stream when actually I streamed this game along with the rest of the Astro City Mini games. But I never saw it, but I wanted to play it. As a kid, I wanted to play this game so bad. I mean, it was like, I looked at the screenshots and I was just like, I need this game. But we could never find an arcade that had it. But now, same thing with Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder, except for one instance. But Arabian Fight, though, that was one that it was always like a unicorn to me. And so being able to finally play this game in a true fashion really means a lot to me. Because like this was the first time I played this game, I felt like childhood G. I felt like childhood G playing it for the first time, and I was like, this is something I've always wanted to experience. But anyway, I'm not gonna get sentimental about it. Let's talk about the gameplay. I mean, it's a beat 'em up. I mean, there are plenty of other great beat 'em ups. I mean, Sega knows how to make a beat 'em up. They totally do. And why this one never went outside of Japan is also beyond me. I'm kind of stunned at that. But or never made it home, I guess I should say. Like I'm pretty stunned about that. But okay, I'm gonna talk about the actual gameplay now. Graphics are beautiful. Oh my goodness. I mean, like the style and the animation of the characters. And speaking of which, as you see on the screen right now, Childhood G had such a crush on Ramaya. Such a crush. So much crush. But the gameplay of this game, because it's like you basically have just an attack and a punch button, and you can use magic whenever you collect magic, which basically is multiple different types of magic that either clears the screen and you see them actually running at the screen in a full anime style. Again, going back to that anime aesthetic that I love so much. You can throw enemies at the screen, they jump at you from all times of quarters. Oh my goodness, it's a gorgeous game. That being said though, gameplay wise, it is beautifully jank. The collision detection is almost non-existent at times. There are some times where you're right up on an enemy, you completely whiff through them and they can still hit you. The way that the enemies kind of, when you go up and down throughout the shift, is also kind of janky. There are times where I was just like, wow, they really should have spent some more time on this. Because the way that it plays, it's got issues. It definitely has issues. But I would say though, yeah, it's still a lot of fun to play. As much as I want to put it in the awesome tier, just because of those pure jank, like just because of that pure jank, I can't put it in the awesome tier. However, I'm pretty proud to put it in the pretty great. If you can deal with its shortcomings, if you can deal with the collision detection, you can deal with the semi-cheap deaths from time to time. And I understand that sometimes a few of the things in the game might be on the nose in 2021, but it's a blast of a game to play. I can't put it in the awesome tier because of its issues. But that being said, though, it is absolutely worth playing, especially if you play with a friend. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so next up is Bonanza Brothers. Now, here's the thing. Bonanza Brothers is a game. I'm going to tell you a little bit of backstory about me and Bonanza Brothers. Bonanza Brothers is one of those games that I couldn't really get into, but I played a lot of it because of my sister. My sister loves this game, and we'll still play it from time to time because we had it for the Genesis when we were growing up. Never really played it in the arcade, but we had it on the Genesis when we were growing up, and I was just like, I couldn't really get into it, but because it was a fun co-op game that my sister loved playing, even though she made fun of me because I was terrible at it back in the day. But basically, in Bonanza Brothers, if you don't know about the game, you're basically a pair of thieves that you have to go through. It's done in a split screen style. You have to go through the stages, collect all the treasure, and leave without dying or getting caught by the cops. And there are zip lines. There are certain other special abilities that you can get. But yeah, it's criminal activity at its best. I mean, essentially, that's really what it is. Be a thief, right? Because thieving is cool. But that's really where, you know how Sega was back in the day. You got to go against the grain. That's really how it was. Bonanza Brothers, but to me, Bonanza Brothers, even to this day, now as an adult, I love this game. Like I absolutely purely love this game, and I know I'm gonna make up for something because I kind of did this game dirty on the Sega Genesis Mini tier list that I did. I ranked it pretty low. I don't know why I ranked it that low, because knowing in my heart how much I actually really like this game and love this game even, I don't know why I ranked it as low as I did, but I'm gonna make up for it right now. Bonanza Brothers to me, especially in two player. In two player, it's so much fun in two player. I mean, in single player, it's great, but in two player, like it's really awesome. So I'm actually gonna go ahead. Yep. Now, one thing to note about me in tier lists is that I don't rank them. I don't rank them within each tier. I don't. So basically, it's like when I rank them in tiers, I'm not saying that Alien Storm is a better game than Bonanza Brothers. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just basically putting it in that rank. So it's basically at that level. But yes, hey, I would say, yeah, I know it's very much an acquired taste. And I know that it's one of those games that I feel that you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. That's really how it is with Bonanza Brothers. And personally, I love it. I think it's fantastic. Okay. Next up is columns. All right. I know I'm going to break some hearts, and I apologize. I don't like columns. I just don't. I said that in the Genesis Mini video. I said it in the Astro City Mini video. I don't like columns. Like, I love puzzle games. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love and adore puzzle games. In fact, Ranchan, who is absolutely stellar at games, even she couldn't click with Columns. Like, I can't. The thing is that I think Columns is a fine game. It doesn't wow me at all. And just having the sheer fact of that when I could play something like Puyo Puyo, which we're going to get to, it's like I think that there are just infinitely better games for columns than anything. And I know that like there are several different things about columns that almost made me break, especially when I was trying to. This is a funny story, real quick. That when I was trying to get the full achievements in the Sega Genesis collection on the PS3, Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection, or the Ultimate Mega Drive collection, if you're in PAL areas. I was trying to get that achievement, and I can't remember exactly what the achievement was. I think it was you had to hit like either a certain level or a certain score. And I was just like, I know I was playing it for hours, literally trying to get that. I'm like, please kill me now. It's like, God, this game. Oh, but I got it. I did get the full achievements and the full trophies, so I can't complain about that. But look, if you like columns, I'm not gonna hate on you. I think it's just one of those things that uh, I just can't vibe with it. I mean, it's a little bit more fun than two player, but I can't vibe with it. I will say this: the game's pretty. The soundtrack is great. Like the music is great. I will give it that. I mean, to me, if you're gonna have a puzzle game, you don't have good music, get out of here. But to me, it's like, I don't know. I just can't get on with it like you can with Puyo Puyo or Doctor Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. So I will respect Columns though. I'm not gonna put it in the Dookie tier. I'm gonna put it in Could Be Better because it's like I feel that there are other versions of Columns that definitely do it better, and we'll get to one of them later on. It's like there are multiple other versions of Columns that do it better, but the original, I just can't really get on with it. Now that being said, I will say the Master System version of Columns, it's not bad. I'd say that's actually, or I guess you can call it the Game Gear version too, but it's not bad. It's probably, if you have to play Columns, the original Columns, I'd probably say either that or the PC Engine version is really the best way to play. But that being said, I can't really put it any higher than that. I apologize if I broke some hearts, but that's just how it is for me. And well, I guess that means we gotta talk about Columns too. So yeah, straight into the Dookie tier. For one simple reason. One simple reason why Columns goes from a game that I respect, but I don't like, to a game that I can't stand. And it's for one simple reason. Bomb tiles. Bomb tiles, or I guess death tiles, I guess that's what they're called, death tiles, where if you accidentally strike and clear those death tiles, it raises the whole screen up and you can't do anything about it? No. Get that the F out of here. No, seriously. Get that the F out of here. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And to me, it's like shame on me that I actually kind of felt bad because I bought the game on the Switch just because I wanted to have all the Sega Ages games on the Switch. And I knew going into it, I was like, why did I buy this? Because I'm OCD and I need to have the complete set. But yeah, I can't. It's like, again, Columns 2 is pretty. I will give it that. It's got good music. But I will say this: if you want probably one of the most aggravating and most tense, you know how puzzle games go, where if you start reaching the top and you're about to end, like you're about to lose, and then the music either speeds up or it changes, or however. If you want one of the most grating and most repetitive songs when that happens, play Columns 2. It's really annoying, and just the whole game is just annoying. It really is annoying. And that's really all I gotta say. Again, I apologize to everybody who really likes Columns fans, but this is my list, this is my opinions, and what comes from me comes from the heart. And my heart says, fuck Columns 2. Period. Oh, I gotta bleep that. Like that. No, I don't like this game at all. Sorry. All right, so what a good way for me to wash the taste out of Columns out of my mouth then with Cotton, or I guess Fantastic Night Dreams Cotton is the full name for it. So, for those of y'all who are familiar with Cotton, Cotton's a long-running, side-scrolling, and in the case of Panorama Cotton, 3D style shooting games that you're a girl, you're a witch girl on a broom, and you have a sidekick fairy named Silk. Which here's a little fun fact about Young G. You know how Young G had a crush on Ramaya from Arabian Fight? Young G also had a crush on Silk from Cotton. Still kind of do actually. But the game itself is just, it's a side-scrolling shooter that you basically, it's very, very Japanese. Cotton has always been very, very Japanese. And that's one of the biggest charms about it. And it's one of those things I know is probably going to weird some people out. I love it. I love literally everything about this game. It's like, I love the graphics. I love the music. I love the enemies. I love the style. I love the power-up system, which anybody who's played Cotton should be familiar with that. I love basically nearly everything about the game. There is one flaw. There is one flaw, and it's a basic flaw with me and side-scrolling shooters or shmups. I know some people hate the term shmup. I'm gonna use it. Shmups is checkpoint shmups, and to me, I feel that checkpoint shmups are not bad if they're fair with it. Now, if you want to be something like Gradius, where the game after you die kicks you all the way back to the beginning, then screw you. I hate you. But the thing is that with Cotton is that you do lose your couple of lives. You lose a continue, but then you can actually jump back in. The problem with Cotton that actually I do have to give it to that is that when you continue 3 times, on the third continue, you go back to the beginning of the stage. That's pretty brutal because the game is hard. It's hard. It is super, super hard. But it is one of those that never feels unfair. It never feels cheap. And again, the charm of the characters and everything just completely makes up for it. I don't mind that. I don't mind the fact that it kicks you back. I don't mind the fact that it's one of those games that it doesn't feel frustrating and just like you want to keep going and going and going until you can finally get past it. That's just really how I feel about Cotton. And I know there are a couple of other space shooters or shmups. There are a couple of other shmups on the system that we're going to get to. But for me, Cotton is the pinnacle of all of them. It really is. Yes, above another certain one that we are going to get to. But the Cotton, for me, this goes in the awesome tier. I love this game. I absolutely love it. I want to get a copy of this for my PC Engine. I really do. Because it's PC Engine got this version, I believe. I can't remember what other consoles got this version of Cotton. And it's like, as much as I would love getting Panorama Cotton, getting a legitimate copy of that game, that ain't happening. That ain't happening at all, especially if I wanted the mug. But on this, I mean, Cotton to me, it's, if you like shooters, or even if you don't like shooters, it's like, to me, Cotton is a must play. It's an absolute must play. All right, so next up is Crackdown, not to be confused with the Xbox game Crackdown, which I absolutely love. Well, 1 and 2 anyway. So Crackdown is a strange one. It's another one of the games that's kind of like Bonanza Brothers, where the game by default is kind of split in 2 ways. And essentially, you just have to defuse the bomb, take out the enemies, and get to the end of the stage. That's really how Crackdown works. It's simple as that. You get smart bombs, you get melee attacks. It's pretty cool. But at the same time, it's like, it's one of those that didn't really wow me. I completely missed it as a kid. I remember the arcade that my dad and I played at. I remember they had Crackdown, but for some reason we never played it. But I think it's also because of the subject matter. Yeah, it's like the subject matter just kind of was kind of on the nose, like for that time, I guess. So we never really got on with it. And still to this day, I don't really get on with it. However, I will say this. It's like, I do appreciate the game for its style and its uniqueness. I will give it that. It's kind of blah to play. But hey, if there's one thing I gotta say on this, is if it weren't for games like Crackdown, we probably wouldn't have games like Trap Gunner on the PS1, which is actually one of my most favorites. I don't like using the term hidden gem, but I will say that it's a game that it's a treasure that really needs to be mined. Wow, that was totally original. But anyway, Crackdown. We it's like I want to put it in It's Okay. But nah, we're going off of pure gameplay. It's okay. It's gonna stay in It's Okay. Because I want to move it up to pretty great because, again, I like its originality and I like the style of it. But the game itself, it moves too slow. I think that's my biggest problem. The game moves way too slow. I would say it's fun in 2-player, but to be completely honest, I haven't really played it in 2-player, at least not for a very long time. So I can't really speak on that. I can only speak on playing it in single player. And for me, it's fine. It's fine. That's about as much as I can say about it. So next up is a super, super strange one, and it's Dark Edge. Now, Dark Edge is a game that I had never heard of before the Astro City Mini. Never. I never actually heard anything about it. And I was like, I looked at the pictures, and then I looked at some YouTube videos before getting my Astro City Mini, just so that I could actually get an idea of what the game might be like. And it's like, because it's a fighting game. It's a one-on-one fighting game that actually takes place, even though it uses 2D sprites and 2D environments, it takes place in a 3D scope. If you kind of catch my drift on it. It's basically something similar to, if you've ever played a game on the PS1 called Evil Zone, it kind of reminds me of that. Or maybe even well, I was going to say Psychic Force, but maybe not to an extent Psychic Force. While I'm hitting it into with some deep cuts here in those two, play Psychic Force, great game. But, man, Dark Edge, it's just, remember how I said Arabian Fight was delightfully janky? Well, Dark Edge, take the delightfully out of it. The gameplay in this, in my opinion, the gameplay sucks. I mean, punches and attacks just don't really seem to go through. I have no idea how to do special moves. And I just wind up just getting my ass kicked, like, more than half the time. Like, I could barely get any far in this game. The character designs do nothing for me. There aren't that many characters to pick from. I get it. It's an early fighting game in '93. I get it. So there really aren't going to be that many characters for something that early. But it's just that, man, it's just such a slog to play. I didn't have any fun while playing it. I get it. From a technological standpoint, it's nice. It's nice. But going on a pure gameplay standpoint, Dark Edge goes into Dookie. It sucks. Playing the game it's such a slog that I appreciate what Sega did with that, but it's just, if the game is no fun, it's no fun. And that's really, I can't say anything more about that. It's no fun. I don't like it. All right, so next up is eSWAT. All right, if you're familiar with the Genesis or Mega Drive version, when you start the game, it tells you the name of the game like that. But anyway, so eSWAT in the arcade. Now, as a kid, this is another one that I completely missed in the arcade. Like, I don't even remember seeing it in the arcade. However, I was very, very familiar with the Genesis and Mega Drive game, and I played that game a lot, and it deserves it. It's a great game. Like, personally, I think it's a great game. The arcade version of eSWAT is completely different. It's a side-scroller shooter slash brawler in the vein of something like Bad Dudes or Two Crude Dudes, or it's something more akin to like that instead of it being an action platformer. You can still kind of feel the ties to it from the Genesis game. Well, now playing the arcade game now, which by the way was also ported to the Master System. You can still kind of feel that, but I would say that it's good. It's good. It's another one that I'm just like, if it's there, maybe I might get the idea of playing it. I might. But it's also one of those games that I don't know. It's kind of strange to play now. If only the entire game you play it as. So really how eSWAT works is, I didn't even get to that, is that you basically start off as just, your standard cop with a gun, and then as you go through the games, you upgrade your weapons, and then you get a super cyber suit. That's why it's called Cyber Police eSWAT. You get a special cyber suit that has jetpacks and has rockets, and that's when the game starts getting really fun. But you have to earn your way up there, and earning your way up there, it's okay at best. But once you get the suit, oh, it's great. It actually is. It's great. And you can definitely feel the tongue-in-cheek kind of vibe to it. The game doesn't take itself seriously at all, and that's one thing I do appreciate for it. But the game itself, though, again, this is another one that I think I'm just going to place an okay. Because I find that it's all right, but it's not a game that I'm clamoring to play. If I've played everything else, that's kind of what happened when I streamed it too. Is just that when it's kind of one of those games that, like, okay, I've played everything else, now what? I guess I could play eSWAT. And if you feel like you have to have that affliction and tone where it's like, I guess I'll do that, then is it really worth playing? Maybe, but I think it's worth at least a spin or two. But the game itself, it's all right. Nothing special. All right, so next up, I'm just gonna go straight into it. Next up is a game that is super, super near and dear to my heart, and that's Flicky. Flicky, it's probably the most basic of all the games that are on the Astro City Mini. Essentially, it's simple. All you do is you're, Mama Bird Flicky, grab your chicks, get them to the exit, don't get eaten by the cats. Get as many as you can in a row, and get as much points as you possibly can. That's it. And then just, from stage to stage, the cats get harder, they get trickier. You start seeing caterpillars and other things. It's pure arcade goodness, as the best way that I could say that it is. I love this game. I love it in the arcade. I love it at home. I even love the SG-1000 version. Like, to me, it's another one that, I mean, you can't really go too terribly far with Flicky. You can't. Just because as a game, unless if they made like some sort of strange 3D platformer with Flicky. Wow, Sega should totally make that. A 3D platforming or flying game with Flicky. I don't know, maybe something with like Rodea the Sky Soldier kind of vibes with Flicky. Okay, we're going off topic. But yeah, I would say it's such a fun game. It's so much fun, and just such the charm. I will say this, just the fact that the music does get repetitive, because there really is only one track in the entire game. But the game is it's a blast. It's a blast. I find myself wanting to just continuously just go back and beat my score, just over and over and over. I could play this game for literally hours on end and not touch anything else. Such a great game. Flicky absolutely deserves to be in the awesome tier. In my opinion, this is one of the more games. It's not unlike Altered Beast, that I don't understand why Flicky, I guess maybe It's kind of like Nintendo and F-Zero. I guess maybe they felt like, hey, we've done everything that we can. There's nothing else more that we can do with Flicky. And if that's the case, I respect that. Because it's good to go out on a bang than it is to go out with a whimper, unlike a good chunk of many of Sega's other franchises. But anyway, Flicky, awesome tier, awesome game. If you like old school arcade games like Pac-Man and those styles, Flicky stands right up there with them. I mean, seriously, is it on the same level as something like Pac-Man? No, but I would probably say it's absolutely worth your time. Okay, so next up is probably one of the most polarizing games in this entire list, and that's Game Ground. So the concept of Game Ground is something that I just really, really enjoy that I know a lot of people really can't get on with. So it's a single screen game where you basically have to get from point A to point B with either all of your guys or destroy all the enemies on the screen before you move on to the next stage. And you also collect other helpers to go through the stage as well to help you out. Once all of your people have died, then it's game over. And when one person dies, you do have the ability to save them and move them onto the end of the screen. But one thing you have to be careful on is if you have somebody in tow to save and you kill all the enemies on the screen, they're gone. So you have to, there's a lot of strategy. And each character has their own unique weapons and their own unique style. Some shoot forward, some shoot diagonally, some shoot at an angle. It's like there's so much depth to this game that even as a kid, I can tell you the truth, as a kid, I did not like this game at all. I couldn't stand it. And to me, though, I love this game now. It is one of those times. It is, to me, it's one of the best examples of everything in this entire Astro City game list. It is one of those things that I would say it has one of the best. This is just one more go. Just one more go. Just one more go. One more credit. I mean, that's what I think. That's what I think this game does to me. However, I will say the pacing is still a little slow. I love playing this game. The pacing does kind of kill it a little bit, but it's not as bad as Crackdown. Like it doesn't drag the game down nearly as much as Crackdown does. So for Game Ground, it's another one that from personal standpoints, I'm tempted to put in the awesome tier, but I'm actually going to put it as pretty great. Because I understand that it's also going to be something that's not everybody's cup of tea, but I still think that it's a fun game in its sense. Give it a try. I mean, you just might like it. It's just, again, don't go in guns blazing. That's probably the best example or the best advice I could say about Game Ground. Go in with a strategy, but there is a time limit, so you do still have to move. But it's the same thing. I'm like, it's hard for me to say that everybody should play it because I know some people aren't going to jive with it. Personally, I do. And that's why I'm going to say it's pretty great. All right, so next up is the original Golden Axe. Now, I'm actually not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the original Golden Axe. It's iconic. It's a great game. I'm going to say the exact same thing that I said about this game in my Arcade 1-Up Golden Axe video. I'm going to say the exact same thing. To me, if you have Golden Axe and you have Golden Axe The Revenge of Death Adder on one machine, there's no reason to play the original Golden Axe. Like, unless if you just really, 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 really want to play as Julius Thunderhead and when he's not riding or if you want to play as Tyrus Flare because she's not in The Revenge of Death Adder. If you really want to do that and you just want to get those nostalgia peaks out there, then sure, great. But to me, there's no real reason to play it. But I'm going to give the game its due because it's still great to play today. And it's going to go pretty great. I mean, because Golden Axe is still pretty great. It's not like, to me, Golden Axe 1, and I know this is going to be kind of a controversial statement. Golden Axe 1, I found that it's aged and it's held up better than the original Streets of Rage, if that makes sense. Hear me out on this. Is that I think that it just plays a little bit smoother. It's a little bit smoother. I think it's a little bit more fair. But as a game, we're talking about the arcade game. And the arcade game is great. I mean, it's like, well, then, yeah, I suppose you should. I mean, I suppose you should play it at least once for the story. I mean, it's like, I'll give it that. You should play it at least once for the story. So that way you can go into the Revenge of Death Adder knowing everything that's going on. But yeah, the game itself, it's like, it's good. It's good. But it's like, play it once, and then just play Revenge of Death Adder. Which, speaking of, okay, y'all, next up, Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder. Go straight in the awesome tier. There's not really much more that can be said. Golden Axe is, it's like, if you want a poster child for what, in my opinion, is one of the greatest sequels, the greatest step up of any retro game, hell, of like any kind of game, I can say of all time, one of the greatest step ups, one of the greatest glow ups from any game, from one to another, is Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder. It absolutely is. The game completely smokes the original out of the water. Like, everything is better. The graphics are better, the attacks are better, the characters are better, the music is better, the magic is better, the enemies are better, the bosses are better. The branching paths, everything about this game is better. It is easily the best game on the Astro City Mini by far. I mean, like, there are like you see everything else is in the awesome tier. I mean, like, there are some great games on here, but this game, I'm just, it's just there's no comparison, and it's wonderful. But I can't talk about Revenge of Death Adder without talking this though. It's just that every single time, like, I'll play this game, and I absolutely love it every single time. And it's also a game that I now hold dear to my wife Ranchan. I now hold this game very, very dear because it's one of the first real times that we've gotten a chance to truly play a retro beat 'em up together all the way through. And I see her eyes light up because she loves Dora the Centaur, and I love Dora the Centaur. It's just like I see her eyes light up when we get ready to play and just have a blast. It's so great. I guess really the only downside about the Astro City Mini version is that it's only 2-player, but it's a limitation of the hardware. So it's like that's really about it. But I mean, the game's a absolute freaking masterpiece. I mean, and if you have the means to play it, play it all the way through. Get your buddies together, get some turkey, get some drinks, all you can quaff. Play this game. It's amazing. All right, so the next game we're going to talk about is My Hero. Now, My Hero is a strange one because it was done by Corland and Sega. If you ever played Kung Fu on the NES, or if you ever played Vigilante, what was it called on the Atari? I can't think of it. It was Kung Fu Master. You ever play games like that where it's like a side-scrolling beat 'em up that basically just you go from left to right and beat everybody up on your way? That's kind of what My Hero is like. Only, it's like they've got the kind of like River City Ransom kind of looking dudes and whatnot. The style of this game is great. I will give it that. Like, the style is actually really cool. I'll tell you one reason why I am not a fan of My Hero. And this goes for the Master System version as well. It's like why I'm actually not a fan of My Hero is because unlike those other 3 games that I mentioned, which by the way, I'm a big fan of Vigilante. Unlike those other games that I mentioned, the problem with My Hero is that you die in one hit. You die in one hit, and since it's a checkpoint style, when you die, you go back. And it can be really, really punishing. But at the same time, I'm not going to say that the game's not fun, because it is. It's like it actually is pretty fun. Especially in that since you can play it with extra buttons and you don't have to press both buttons to, yeah. But yeah, My Hero, it's fun, but I can't forgive it for its brutal difficulty. I just can't. I mean, but it's nowhere near. I can't really put it in the Dookie tier. So to me, I think it's gonna go and could be better, just because I feel that the game is fun. If only the difficulty could have been taken down a notch, I think it would actually be really good. Maybe had like I don't know 3 life points rather than just 1. I think it would have been much much better. Probably would have gone in pretty great in that situation. But just like Alien Syndrome, I have to knock it down 2 tiers just because of that difficulty. It's just it almost ruins the game. But fortunately, it's still a lot of fun. So if you're down for the challenge and you're okay with the repetition of going back, then you might have some good times with My Hero. But I feel like I got my fill of it. So next is the original Puyo Puyo. Now I'm a big fan of Puyo Puyo / Puyo Pop / Puyo Puyo Tetris / Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine / Kirby's Avalanche. This game has many faces. It has many, many faces. And even that it's so crazy that this series is going on today. That just how far the game has come. It's a fantastic game. It's one of my favorite puzzle games of all time. And just the sheer fact that it is still going today, especially since it's mixed with Tetris, even has a little bit of Sonic flair. I love the fact that Sega has really embraced Puyo Puyo or / Puyo Pop as a franchise, and it's great. And the game is still a lot of fun. The arcade version, it's pretty much Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Essentially, that's what it is. If you've ever played that game, you've played Puyo Puyo. And to me, it's great. Basically, you line up the gems, or I'm sorry, not gems. You line up the slime. It's like you line up the slime with multiple colors, and you just match them together, get combos, get points, take out your opponent by getting multiples in a row. That's basically it. It's got your basic kind of puzzle action, but the charm and the style again just completely makes up for it. Whether you play this version, or whether you play Dr. Robotnik, or whether you play Kirby's Avalanche, all of them have that same unique sort of style that Puyo Puyo brings to the table. And as I say, I'm just very happy that it's still surviving today. And so I'm going to just go ahead and do a 1-2 on this one, just to kind of knock them both out of the way, because both Puyo Puyo and Puyo Puyo 2 are on this. And I will say Puyo Puyo 2 is the stronger game. The CPU difficulty is very, very hard on Puyo Puyo 2 though. So you better be ready to bring your A game on that. And yeah, I will definitely say between the two, I'm just gonna go ahead and rank them both right now. So I'm gonna say that Puyo 1 goes into pretty great. Puyo 2 goes into awesome. I mean, it's one of my favorite puzzle games of all time. I mean, it's just one of those, like, right behind Lumines and Tetris. It's one of my favorite puzzle games, definitely. And Meteos on the DS. But yeah, if you have the means to play it again, this is another one that's definitely worth playing. That being said, I think this is possibly the opportunity, and I know I'm mentioning this in my full Astro City Mini console consultation as well, but it bears being said that I appreciate it, Sega, but there are far too many puzzle games on this. I mean, to make up out of the 36, because I mean, you got 3 columns games, and you got 2 Puyo Puyo games, and then you got Puzzle and Action and Tantar, which are both puzzle games. And then if you want to count the Dottori-Kun, that's a puzzle game as well. So it's like there's too many. It's too many, And I don't know. Some people will love it. I personally think that those slots should have been allotted to something better. You know. So yeah. But those 2 games, I think they're definitely worthy of being in their position. Okay, so next up is another oddity, and in fact, I'm going to go ahead and knock 2 of them out, just like I did with Puyo Puyo as well, because I just mentioned about how there are so many puzzle games on the Astro City Mini, and this pair is another one. This is Puzzle in Action Tant R and Puzzle in Action Ichidantar. I hope I pronounced that right. But basically, it's a collection of mini games in the same very of like WarioWare. If you've ever played like the WarioWare games, where there are various different mini games that you have to like do things super quick in time, it's kind of like that. Maybe a little bit of Mario Party, and it's a spin-off of Bonanza Brothers. If you notice, if you look at the art style as you see in the corner over there, it's a spin-off of Bonanza Brothers. But you're actually the good guys this time instead of being the bad guys, and you're going through all the various different puzzles, and you go from stage to stage. And the puzzles are actually a lot of fun. The thing is that, unfortunately, unless if, well, I guess that's to be known, or I guess that's waiting to be seen for those who actually got the American Astro City Mini from Limited Run Games, if the games are actually going to be translated or not. I highly doubt they're going to be translated. So this is probably still going to be in Japanese. So there is a little tiny bit of a language barrier. But I was able to eke through it just fine when I was actually playing for the console consultation review. And I had quite a bit of fun with it. One is a little bit different than the other. One is basically set in like a modern times, and then the other one is set in like medieval times. And that's where Ichidan art comes in. That one's actually set in medieval times, but they still have the same sort of appeal. They still have the same kind of mini games, even though they're different. I think it's worth a spin a few times if you'd like. That's probably something that I bet Ranchan would probably know. I bet we'd probably enjoy playing that game together. So, however, I can't really rank, and I guess it's also because I didn't play it enough. Maybe if I'd actually played more, I'll just be straight up honest. It's like maybe it's because I didn't play more of the puzzle or the mini games in it. Maybe I haven't played all the mini games in it. Maybe that's why I'm not really feeling that they could be better. Because who knows, maybe I'm missing out on some of the better mini games. Um, I but they're still really great games though. Yeah, I'm gonna put them both in pretty great. Because they're still a lot of fun. I imagine that they're probably even more fun in 2-player. I bet you they are, but they're definitely worth trying out. It's another thing that I don't think is going to be everybody's cup of tea. But if you may have the means to try it, try it. I think so. I actually own the Mega Drive version of Puzzle and Action Tantar. There is also one that's in the Sega Ages, which I also have. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Okay, so next up is another strange one. This is Quartet 2. So Quartet 2 is a side-scrolling space style game where essentially you get from point A to point B, and you're riding on jetpacks for the most part. It's like you're using jetpacks as you're going through the stages and you're shooting various enemies and whatnot. To be honest, this is another one that I couldn't really get on with, and it's mainly because I don't know, something about it just didn't really click with me. It didn't click with me back then with the original and Master System, and this one still didn't really click with me at all. Now, I also understand that this game could be a hoot in like 3-player multiplayer, like it could be, or 4-player, I believe. But however, since it's the Astro City Mini, you only can play 2-player. So, and I didn't even get a chance to play in 2-player for this one. As a game itself, I think it's, yeah, I think it's only okay. So I'm just gonna put it in okay. I know that there are some diehard fans of this, and I'm sure they're gonna let me know in the comments, like, hey, you're not really playing this right, you don't see it. But again, this is just my own kind of personal candid thoughts on it. I don't know, it doesn't really do much for me. And if it doesn't really do much for me, I'm not gonna keep playing it. But I will give it its respects. It's still a good game. I just, meh, not my thing. Okay, so next up is Rad Mobile, or the game called Rad Mobile. I don't know why it pronounces it like that. But yes, it's literally the only driving game on the entire Astro City Mini. And to me, this is one that's like it's a strange game because you look at it back, and I know a lot of people, especially like when you get to the portion. So one of the cool things about Rad Mobile, one of the cool things about Rad Mobile is that basically you're on a race from the West Coast to the East Coast. There's 20 different stages. You're on a rush from the West Coast to the East Coast to get there all the way while avoiding disasters, avoiding falling off the stage, and avoiding cops, which I'm going to get to the cops in a minute. But the thing about Rad Mobile that to me is a lot of fun is the sense of speed. I mean, for a game that come out as early as it did, the sense of speed is fantastic. I find that the controls, while I feel that it's a little tricky and a little strange playing this game with a joystick. So if you play the game with a joystick, I mean, you play with a controller, it's fine. But if you actually play with the joystick, it's very strange. You know, it's very, very strange. But it works. It's kind of like playing um, oh, what's the name of it? The Neo Geo drift racing game. Neo Drift Out, which is a awesome game, by the way. Neo Drift Out. It's kind of like that. Like playing it with a stick is strange. But I got used to it. But yeah, the sense of speed is great. And just like I mentioned in the console consultation video, I also have a soft spot for this game because it's the first appearance of Sonic. You see him up there in the little corner. His little keychain, or it's a air freshener. Yeah, I would love to have that dangling on my car right now. I was like, that'd be so great. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, especially when you're dealing with the cops, because the cops will try to chase you down. They'll try to knock you over. They'll set up barricades, so you have to get past the barricades. And when you get pulled over, it's wild. It's wild when you get pulled over because they basically like bash down your car. It's like, stop with the reckless driving, or they even shoot at you. I'm like, what? Like, geez, it's like, geez, come on, chill, man. It's just a race. I mean, we're going 120 kilometers an hour, but I mean, like, it's still a race. But yeah, I know some people have some strong opinions about this game, saying that it hasn't aged well and saying that it's ugly and da da da. I don't agree with that. I don't jive with any of that. I think the game still plays great today. I think it's still super impressive to look at. I don't think it deserves to be in the awesome tier. However, I think it deserves to be in a good, solid place into pretty great. Because there's something missing about it that keeps it away from being amongst the highest ranks on those. And I think it's mainly because once you're done with the game, you're done. Like, it's not like Outrun where you have like multiple courses and multiple paths and whatnot. There's only one path, only one way to go. One drag race. Well, not drag race, but one, it's not a circuit. However, I just think that but it's a really, really great game. I mean, it just really makes you think like what would have happened on the Astro City Mini if they had actually included, I don't know, if they included Virtua Racing. I mean, or I don't know, Super Hang On. You know, Super Hang On probably would have been great. Man, doing this is making me want to do a level 10 on games that should have been on the Astro City Mini. But I think with the CC and and this tier list, I think that's enough. And the streams, twitch.tv/GD next level. But I would say, yeah, it's pretty solid to go in the great tier. It's a great game. And if you have a Saturn, you could also get Gale Racer. It's slightly different, but to me, it's still worth playing. And you can play with the wheel. So there is that. All right, so next up is Scramble Spirits. And this is another one that I never played until the Astro City Mini. This is one of the two shmups on this system that I never played. And I know of Scramble Spirits, though. It's one of those games that, like, I always heard about, and I knew it existed, but I never really played it until now. And it's good. I mean, I think it's your standard kind of top-down Raiden-esque sort of shooter. I mean, the graphics are great, the music is great, the sound is great, but it's another one that just kind of like, it just kind of feels like it's there. Like, I don't really, it didn't wow me. It didn't wow me like like, especially not up against something like Cotton and Thunder Force AC, which we'll get to. Now, I understand it's older, but I'm going to say it's okay. It's okay. I think that's right down the middle. I think it's really the best way that I can say about it. So, is it worth playing if you're a shmup fan? Yeah, I think it's worth playing. But I'm just like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't feeling too much on it. But I'll give it for what it's doing and say it's okay. Oh, all right. So next is, I guess what it's known as on the Astro City Mini, Sega Ninja. But it's also known as the Ninja Princess. And to me, this game could very well be one of Sega's most underrated games ever. I mean, seriously. Especially for as early as a game as it is. So it's a ninja style, it's a top-down ninja style action game where you play as the princess, I can't remember, I think it's Kurumi? I think her name is Kurumi, like Princess Kurumi, where you basically throw ninja stars and you throw giant ninja stars that you collect power-ups throughout the way. You're scrolling up top. You have two different modes of attack. You can attack straight forward, as you're moving back, so you can kind of strafe and shoot forward, just like and shoot forward. Or you can shoot in 8 directions, where you can actually aim while shooting in 8 directions. But you have to be careful because the ninja enemies can come from any direction and any angle. So you have to be very careful. But one thing about Ninja Princess that stands out is that she actually has a ninja vanish. She uses the ninja vanish, and that's your defense maneuver. You can help avoid shots. You can help avoid it if you're getting surrounded by enemies. You can dash around bosses. This game is so much fun. It's a lot of fun to play. It's just such a damn shame that Sega really went nowhere with this. I mean, the only real glimpse in the United States that we had of this game was the revisioning it into the Ninja on the Master System, which, I mean, they did the thing that a lot of companies did at that time, where they changed the female lead to a male lead. Boo. But it's kind of like City Connection from Jellico, double boo. But it's a shame. But I'm not gonna hold it against, like, in this kind of game, because we're talking about this game in itself. Y'all, I love this game. And every time I play it, I have a hard time stopping. I really do. Like, it's definitely just like Game Ground. It kind of rolls into the just one more game mentality. I love it dearly. Yeah. Just for my sake. Just for my sake, it's going in the awesome tier. If you've never played this game, you need to play it. I mean, even if you played the Ninja on Master System, that's fine too. You just need to find a way to play this game. It's freaking fantastic. Fantastic game. Okay, so next up, we're going in alphabetical order, right? So I'm actually going to talk about Shadow Dancer before I talk about Shinobi. Now, Shadow Dancer, for those of y'all who don't know, I mean, it is a sequel to Shinobi in a sense. But this game actually came out on the Mega Drive as a completely different game. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, I love and adore dearly the Mega Drive / Genesis version of Shadow Dancer. I love it. It is one of my favorite games on the system. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It's a top 20 game for me. I love it. I love everything about it. Can't say the same about the arcade Shadow Dancer. I can't. Because it's like, I understand that it's kind of bridging the gap between something like the original Shinobi and the Mega Drive version. I think that's why the Mega Drive version is so good, because it doesn't feel as slow, it doesn't feel as cheap. Yes, you do still have Yamato, who's one of the best dogs in gaming. You do still have Yamato. Up there he is, right there. And it's like, yeah, but I just can't. I can't get on with it like the other Shinobi games. It's too cumbersome. It's too clunky. It's too cheap. They really took a step back with this game. Like, they really took a step back with this one. It's not awful, so I will give it that. I mean, it's no Master System version. It's no Cyber Shinobi on the Master System. Oh, if we were ranking Shinobi games, which we might, if we were ranking Shinobi games, straight into the dookie with that. But Shadow Dancer, it's not dookie material, but it definitely could have been better. I think that if they had just given it a little bit more time and a little bit more care, I think it could have been a much better game. But as it stands, yeah, it could be better. All right, so next up is the icon, Shinobi, the original Shinobi. And to me, the original Shinobi is great. It's a really great game. I suck at it. As I mentioned very much thoroughly in my Arcade 1-Up video, for the Golden Axe Revenge of Death at Arcade 1-Up video, I'm terrible at the original Shinobi, and I'll probably forever be terrible at the original Shinobi. It's hard, y'all. It's like, and I guess maybe one of the other reasons why is because I played the Master System version and the NES version more than this version. So going down to having, life bar and having enemies that weren't really nearly as aggressive and going into something like this is a bit of a culture shock. But otherwise, I think it's still a great game. I'm not going to say... Now, if we were ranking Shinobi games, just like I mentioned for Shadow Dancer, if we were ranking Shinobi games just on their whole, it might be a little bit of a different story. But I think in a situation like this, I think I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's pretty great. I mean, like, I can't really rank it any higher than that just because of the high difficulty. And I mean, am I a little salty because I suck at the game? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but it's still pretty great. Okay, so next up is the other old school vertical shooting game on the Astro City Mini, and it's Sonic Boom. Not to be confused with Sonic Boom the cartoon, which is great. Not Sonic Boom the game, which is terrible. But Sonic Boom bores me. As somebody who really loves shmups, I could probably say that this game kind of holds right on the same level as something like Error Flash, you know? It's really easy. It's just kind of there. The environments don't really do much for me. The music doesn't do much for me. It's just another like military ship vertical shooting style game. It doesn't really do a whole lot for me, unfortunately. It's like it's fine, I guess, but I don't know. I think it's one of those situations where I'm just gonna have to say that it could be better. Just because like it's there, it's functional, it's a fine game, but it doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table, especially when you got again, you got Cotton and you got Thunder Force, which we're gonna get to. I can't really say anything more about it. So yeah, if you're a big fan of that, sorry, but I'm eh. And the sad thing is that I never actually played it before this game. I didn't even know this game existed before the Astro City Mini. But yeah, it's all right. All right, and here's another icon, Space Harrier. Now, I mean, look, y'all, I'm not gonna mince words. Going in the awesome tier. Space Harrier is a classic. It is an absolute classic. It's so much fun to play. I know it is one of those games because of the just because of the nature and the style of the game. It is one of those that you might not be able to play today. Especially if you're because I know sometimes like the effects of the ground, especially when like you have both grounds like coming in together, like the ceiling comes in. I know it can be disorienting to some people, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, like, and then you got the music, you got the excellent graphics, and just how every environment just seems to get, and then the game gets super fast. I mean, like ridiculously fast. And I'm just like, wow, you get your ass kicked, but it's so much fun. And it's so weird. But yeah, Space Harrier, it's one that, you know, Sega deserves to hold on its high pedestal. Even the sequel was great too, you know? It's maybe someday, you know what though? Maybe someday, just saying, hey Sega, if you're out there, I hope you're listening. Someday, give us Planet Harriers. I said it. Bring us Planet Harriers. I mean it. We need that game. Do it. But yes, Space Harrier is awesome. It goes in the awesome tier. Okay, so next up is the last of the three columns games, stat columns. And I will say now, again, I already talked about my thoughts on columns, so I'm not gonna hate on it. This is the best of the three, but not by a whole lot. I will say it's because of the environment, and they got rid of the stupid poison bomb mechanic or the poison gem mechanic. They got rid of that, thankfully. So this one at least plays a lot better. But now there's a mechanic where you can actually earn and stack chips. And when you actually can stack those chips, then you can attack your opponent and make them raise their screen. So it makes it a lot harder for them to come back on. So at least it's not like, okay, you're going to hit this random gem, and this random gem is actually going to raise you up. This one is like, no, it's a conscious effort. You basically can stack as much as you want, and then as you stack them high enough, then you just make things rougher for your opponent. So there's a degree of strategy that they've actually added to this one, and it makes the game more fun. I'll give it that. If I had to play any of the Columns games on this Astro City Mini, this would be the one to play, without a doubt. Do I still like Columns? Hell no. I still don't. If you love Columns, I respect you. I love you. But I still don't. I still don't to this day. But I think, in my opinion, out of all the ones here, Stat Columns is the best of the three. And so I'm going to say it's okay. I think it's a passable version of Columns. That's really the best way that I can say on that. So, yeah, it's okay. If you have to play Columns on the Astro City Mini, this is the one to play. All right, so next up is Thunder Force AC. Now, this is also another game that I wasn't really like. I knew that there was an arcade version of Thunder Force, but personally, I didn't really know kind of the backstory behind it. I didn't know that Sega actually really had a handle in it. I know it's a Sega franchise now, but I didn't really know that they had any kind of handle in something like this until playing this. It's basically a port of, or I guess really Thunder Force 3. I guess somebody let me know which came first. It's a chicken or the egg thing. It's like which came first, Thunder Force 3 or Thunder Force AC. But to me, it's like it basically is Thunder Force 3 to me. Now, I have a soft spot for Thunder Force 3. Mainly because it's one of the first shmups that I ever really truly played and grasped. And that I still get that feeling when I play Thunder Force 3. However, I will say it's like when you compare it up against, let's say, like Thunder Force 4, I'd say Thunder Force 4 just smokes it. I know some people prefer 3. It's kind of like when people talk about Burnout 3 versus Burnout Revenge. Like, to me, I think Revenge is the better game in every way. But you do have those little bit of nostalgia things for Burnout 3. And the same thing can be said for Thunder Force 3. Thunder Force 2 is not great. But at least we got 3 on this in some capacity. And of course, it's on the Genesis Mini too. So Sega must really have some good stake in Thunder Force 3. I am going to say, just overall, again, it's not awesome, but it's great. So I'll say it's pretty great. I think that they definitely picked. I would have picked better shooters than Sonic Boom and Scramble Spirits, but I think them picking Cotton and Thunder Force is pretty excellent. And if you really look at this tier too, that's pretty cool. We got one shmup from almost every level, none of them in the Dookie. So hey, that's pretty great. I love that. I love that. All right, next up is one of the marquee games that Sega really pushed that the Astro City Mini could do, and that's the original Virtua Fighter. Now, the original Virtua Fighter is one of those fighting games that, it's still great. It's still great. Don't get me wrong. The original Virtua Fighter is still great. Man, has it not aged well. Whew. It's one of those ones that's just like, it's really tough to go back to, especially if you have Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua Fighter 4, Virtua Fighter 5. All of those games, to me, just are way better than the first Virtua Fighter. And it's like, I think it's really novel that they put it on here. But aside from like picking it up and playing it every now and then, it's like, it's novel, but it's so hard to go back to the original Virtua Fighter, especially because the emulation. This is where, and I mentioned this in the Astro City Mini console consultation, that the emulation on this one is hit or miss. Sometimes the frame rate hiccups, and it hiccups in strange places. And as I said, it depends on the camera angle. Like some camera angles, it's silky smooth. Some camera angles, it goes burr. And I'm like, I don't really see where they kind of messed that up. I don't think it's enough to detriment your play of the game. But if you're really hardcore into Virtua Fighter, you probably will notice. And I don't think it's enough for me to really take it down any kind of notches. But I would say that the original Virtua Fighter, it's important, it's iconic. And it's still a great game, but it's not an awesome game like its sequels were. Not Virtua Fighter 3, but like its sequels definitely were. So I'm going to say it's pretty great. I don't really think I can add it any more than that. All right, Wonder Boy. Oh, Wonder Boy, will you take me far away from the mucky muck? Oh, yes, the original Wonder Boy. I love the original Wonder Boy. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, who might only be familiar with the newer Wonder Boy games, or maybe even Monster World 4, which is Asha, and I can't wait for the remake of that game to come out, or the reimagining, I guess I should say. But the original Wonder Boy, to me, it also holds a special place in my heart because this is one that I did play in the arcade with my dad. And it's basically like if you've ever played Adventure Island, it's an endless runner in that sense where you have to get from from point A to point B. You basically have to get from point A to point B. You basically have to get from point A to point B while losing your health bar because your health bar is constantly draining. So you have to keep running. You have to keep running. You have to keep moving. You can't stop. You got to keep grabbing fruit. Keep your energy up. You got to get the helmet. You got to get the axe hammers. Like it's a lot of fun, and it really like games like the original Wonder Boy really to me have kind of paved way for games like Subway Surfers or Temple Run, like those old mobile games, those endless runners, Bubsy Paws on Fire. It's like games like that really owe a candle to games like Wonder Boy. They really do, and it's a great game. I don't think it's awesome, but I will say that the original Wonder Boy is pretty great. I think that it's a lot of fun. It's another one of those that I would like to just kind of sit and play through the entire game at some point, especially with like on the Astro City Mini, and you get unlimited continues. But I could see why I played it in the arcade, and I did play it with my dad, but we didn't play a whole lot of it because it truly is a quarter muncher. It absolutely is a quarter muncher. So yeah, I can definitely see that. But Wonder Boy is great, and I highly recommend playing it if you do decide to pick up the Astro City Mini for sure. Okay, so next up is the second Wonder Boy game, Wonder Boy and Monsterland. Now, this one is radically different from the original Wonder Boy, and this is the game that actually really started the turn of the Wonder Boy franchise into the side-scrolling, dungeon-crawling, semi-platforming action game that Wonder Boy is today. Like, we just got the remake of Wonder Boy's The Dragon's Trap. We just got Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, which is spiritually related to Wonder Boy, which is an excellent game. But so a lot of them hold a candle and owe a lot of respect to this game. That being said, it's kind of strange playing this game as an arcade game, if it makes sense. Like it feels kind of out of place, but I think it's still a lot of fun. Now, here's the downside about it on the Astro City Mini, and like I said, for anybody who decides to get the limited run version, it has it in English. Let me know in the comments if they translated it because I don't know if it translated or not. This one's all in Japanese. So basically, I'm eking my way through, like when you have to visit the shops and whatnot, you have to collect the items. So you just kind of have to figure it out, so to speak. And it's not too bad. It's not enough to detriment to the game. But I will say it's still really great. Compared to the first game and the third game. Nah, I think we're going to keep the train going and we're going to put it in pretty great. I think we are. Because It's still a really great game. It just feels kind of strange playing it as an arcade game. I think that's really where it comes down to. But other than that, it's still really good. It's also known as Bakuruman World on PC Engine. So, which that version is very good. So if you do get a chance, play that one. But this one, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Okay, and the last game that's on the Astro City Mini that we're going to rank is Wonderboy 3 Monster Lair. Now, this one is really the full kind of evolution of Wonderboy, if you will. This is the one that really feels the most like the Wonderboy games of today, while still keeping. I'm talking about the wrong Monster Boy. See somebody hit the dum dum. That's why I would hit that on the soundboard for that. It's like, yeah, you were talking about the wrong Wonder Boy, G. Because I looked at it on the side of the screen. I'm like, wait a minute, wrong game. It's fine. It's fine. Next game. All right, and the final game from the Astro City Mini that we're going to rank is Wonderboy 3 Monster Lair. Now, this one, because what's interesting about Wonderboy 3 Monster Lair is that they went back. And the thing is that they went back to where it is more of the, okay, you have to get from point A to point B as fast as you can. And then but the difference between this one is that this one's, number one, it's 2-player, which is awesome. And then number two, you actually have a wider variety of weapons. You have a wider variety of fruit. You have a wider variety of abilities and whatnot. This really is the one to play. And I found that this is one that really, really, I didn't really play this version. I remember playing it on the Master System. And this version, however, it really kind of took me for a loop. Like when I was capturing footage for this, I couldn't stop playing for the console consultation video. I couldn't stop playing. I was like, this is great. This is a blast. I want to get all the way to the end. But, you know, eventually you can only record so much B-roll, you know, before your hard drive is full and whatnot. But this one, yeah, I think Wonderboy 3 and Monster Lair, I think we really need to end this with a bang. And I don't really have a problem doing this. I think Wonderboy 3 Monster Lair, because it's so much fun, it actually is really a blast. I'm going to go ahead and round things off by putting it in the awesome tier. I think I am. I mean, if I had to rank the tiers themselves, which, you know what? I think, real quick, I think I might do that for the awesome tier. Nah, you know what? That's okay. Let's not do that. We'll just leave it as it is, because then I don't really want to spur any kind of debate. But, you know, spoiler alert, if I was doing that, Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder is at the top. Just spoiler alert. But I highly recommend playing it. It's a lot of, Wonderboy 3 is a lot of fun. And I actually really now I just want to play Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom now. Talking about Wonderboy, it actually really makes me want to play that. So yeah, that being said, that's roughly all of the Astro City Mini games. So I think now it's time to just kind of close it out and give my final thoughts. So yeah, what do you think about those rankings, y'all? That's basically my thoughts on all the games that are included with the Astro City Mini, with the exception of the Dottori-Kun. And if you take a look at the tiers, like, in fact, we'll switch over to the tiers back real quick. If you take a look at the tiers, it's actually pretty crazy how, like, so many of the games, like, if you really think about it, out of the 36 games, again, not counting the Dottori-Kun. Oh, and by the way, I understand that there's one more game down there. I accidentally put Ninja Princess on there twice. The thing is if you look at that, that just really speaks kind of volumes to a compilation set like this with the Astro City, that so many games are in the top 2 tiers. And there aren't very many in the bottom 2. I mean, there's a couple in the mid tier. Like I said, Alien Syndrome is my own personal thing, but it's like, that just really speaks volumes about the quality of games that are included on this system. And the thing is just that I absolutely love it. As I mentioned in the console consultation video, I absolutely love this. This is a great little system. I hope everybody that got a chance to get it from Limited Run Games did get a chance to get one. I'm interested to see if they actually did translate, or if they actually did make any changes. I'm actually really intrigued to see if they made any changes on it. But that being said, this is a great game. And so what I want for you to do in the audience, and for those of you in the comment section, if you look in the pinned comment, I'm actually going to leave a link to this tier list. I want you guys and gals and everybody in between, I want you all to get that tier list, make your own tier list. Let me know what your tier lists are. Hit me up on Twitter at G to the next level. Hit me up on that, tag me in it, because I want to see what your rankings are on it. Or really just what your thoughts are on the Astro City Mini just as a whole. Just absolutely. So that's really all I got to say about that. I love the Astro City Mini. It's a great little system. And as always, thank you for watching. Be you and be awesome. I'm G, and I'll see you on the next level.